Hi, I'm Abdul. I'm the vice president for Sabre Travel Network Middle East. I'll just give a few minutes for the team or for the team up here, the panel here, to introduce themselves. We've heard from Andy, but again, Andy's our SVP at Sabre for Travel Solutions. Jason and Dean, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here today. Jason Hooper, and I take care of digital solutions in Dnata within our Dnata travel management brand. Largely look after customer-facing technologies, travel systems, online booking tools, expense payment, and so on. Pleasure to be here.
Hi, I'm Dean Wicks. I'm the Chief Flights Officer for Wego, Wego.com, both MetaSearch and our OTA booking platforms, based here in the Middle East.
Great, thanks. Andy, thanks for the presentation today. The industry's travel retailing conversations really been focused on large stakeholders as they build, test, and release NDC offer and order solutions. Travel management companies play an integral role in the relationship between travelers and retail suppliers, and they're waiting to see how this is going to impact them. So what changes do you consider in their business in the coming months? And, to that extent, what's the role of the agencies in the future of travel retailing?
Look, I'm of the opinion that travel agencies arguably are better positioned to be retailers of travel because they can serve the breadth of content, not just any one supplier, point one, and have a rich shopping experience that allows the comparison. But maybe more importantly, I would say often have way better insights on the traveler themselves, whether that be trip history, even having instrumentation in their online experiences or in their apps or in their booking tools around understanding clickstream data, where they're abandoning search, the types of things they're searching, and just a lot more context, maybe even the profile of a traveler in a corporate context. So as you think about the role of the agency, one, I think they're better positioned from a data perspective. And the second is they're integral in the sense that they can offer the broadest range of content across multiple suppliers in one experience.
That's great. Jason, how do you expect modern retailing to help corporate travel companies deliver what their customers want?
I mean, to Andy's point, as a TMC, we complete that ecosystem. We're there from the start to the finish. What do our customers want? Firstly, they want access to all fares, all content. It all needs to be there. However, what's important to them is cost mitigation, sustainability, duty of care, traveler well-being. These are all extremely important. And if you speak to any travel buyer, travel manager, they will tell you this today. We all know why cost mitigation is important. Fares are higher than ever. Planes are full. In terms of traveler well-being coming out of COVID, we know why that's important too. But there needs to be a balance. It can't just be about costs. We've got to look after the traveler as well. Now, Dnata, as a TMC, we work with our customers to drive global best practice and help them drive their travel policy. And then that for us is what's most important. In terms of duty of care, going down the NDC route, we need to ensure that duty of care requirements are indeed met. This is extremely important. Having said all this, intelligent retailing certainly has the potential to improve that customer traveler experience going forward. By adding on meaningful add-ons to a trip. Yeah.
That's great. Dean, how about online travel? How do you expect intelligent retailing to help deliver what your travelers want?
So there's a lot of choice out there. You do a search, from Dubai to London, and you get 4,000 results. What is right? What does the consumer want? They don't want 4,000 seats and 4,000 options. They just want something that is actually affordable, gives them the right flight choices, the right flight times, and majority of the customers are wanting to go direct. So why are we serving up customers that 2-3 stop journeys or 30 hours to get somewhere? We have to use data to do this intelligently, to provide customers a better experience, to serve them up what is actually that they want. What is it that they want? Use that data, use historical data, and provide that to them. And try and get rid of the clutter that comes through. People are always trying to provide things which are cheaper, but cheaper isn't necessarily better.
Jason, as I was thinking about your response, some of the things that we see, I would say, very nascent right now, but in the North American marketplace, conversations with travel managers that are trying to figure out how to balance traveler preference, policy, especially in the case of employee well-being, right? How do I think about a policy that's way more dynamic? And there's a spectrum of how do I want to lean into, more on the traveler preference and being open to driving that cost and duty of care, and what is that right balance to strike? And so I think that's an evolving area as it relates to how this plays out is understanding, for any given corporation, that might be a different answer. And so that requires all the technologies and tools to be able to meet that, spectrum of potential need.
Exactly that. And, we are seeing customers update their policies for things like red-eye flights, where previously they would only allow economy. But if the flight's red-eye overnight, you can go business, for example. So these are the sort of things that we are working with our customers to implement in the online booking tools.
Similar to what Dean was talking about, data is the fuel of retailing intelligence. So how can the industry use data successfully to deliver modern retailing? That's to you.
That's to me. All right. Yeah, I think, Dean touched on it really well, and I kind of did in my overview. I would say there's a few things that we have to think about. There's certainly data privacy, data sovereignty, different things that, are going to be challenges to overcome. But the other opportunity is not just how any one provider uses data, but can we think about a mechanism through which we share data across the ecosystem of providers? So you think about how does a flight disruption affect how a hotelier might accommodate you, or how that changes your ground transportation. All of this leads to a very different experience that, often leaves travelers today scrambling to make those alternate arrangements or some accommodation. Again, the agencies have played a tremendous role in being that service provider and helping the traveler in those situations. But I think there's a real opportunity, to figure out as an ecosystem how we work together across the different providers and do that in a way that serves the traveler's expectations.
Just kind of extending on that point. The way that we're using data today is, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, Dean. The interesting ways you're using data to improve your customer interactions today. To Andy's point, you're the first entry point, but there's other players in the ecosystem that need to be using data the same way. So maybe if you can kind of expand on that in terms of what Wego's doing.
So actually, one of the things that's a little bit lucky in this area is data privacy is not as strong in the Middle East. It is easier to share data amongst suppliers compared to Europe. Now, we do keep the most stringent, results when we talk about privacy, but there is a mountain of normalized data that we can use to make decisions and are able to give that in a normalized fashion and share that with other providers so that we're able to produce and build tools that are effective and allow us to share in a more effective manner. So it is a little bit easier in this market than, say, Europe, where it's much, much stringent privacy acts in place.
Sure, but just on that, what are some of the cooler things that Wego's doing with the data that's helping service your customers today?
So some of the things, are modern retailing, basically. What we hear about modern retailing, and I hear things about shelves, as modern retailing. Well, to me, what is a shelf and desktop? It's all about a mobile. 80% of all of our transactions are done on a mobile, which, these things like shelves don't even exist. But we will use massive amounts of data. We have over 30 million app downloads in the Middle East region. We take that, we understand our customer behavior. What do they want for every single route that they want? Do they want insurance? We know on which ones that they should have it or they don't have it. Do they want hotels? When to cross-sell, when not to cross-sell? Not every single journey is the same, but we utilize massive amounts of data, machine learning, and AI to actually bring together a product that is personal to use. But then I actually have to say, what is personalization when it comes to a flight? Yeah, I think that is kind of very different to what people have or what they think about personalization as a flight. To me, I'm a frequent flyer on many of the Middle Eastern carriers, and not one of them ever gets my seat requests right. How personal is that, you know? But when we talk about personalization, I think of it more on an O&D perspective. It's like, okay, what does a customer want on this particular type of journey? Someone who's going on a labor traffic route is very different in what we would want to serve up to them on something that's going on a holiday route. So the ancillaries that we put in front of them, the types of journeys, the timings of the flights that we put in front of them, it's all affected by this. And the data that we use from the searches, the downloads, and our customers.
Thanks for that. Andy, the frequently cited 2019 report by McKinsey in partnership with IATA demonstrates that there's a $40 billion additional revenue opportunity translating to $7 per passenger from future retailing enabled by offers and orders. This justifies the airline tech investments, but what is there for agencies in terms of trying to get a piece of that pie?
I'd start by saying there better be $40+ billion of value, if that's true. But I think it kind of goes to the point of, so the airlines see that in an isolated way, for their customer on their flight, flying their metal. Again, when you think about the importance of the agency channel and the traditionally high value customer that comes through that, the seamless experience that an agency can provide. Again, it's not just that point of shopping, and it's not exclusive to airline. You really think about if you have the right data platform and you curate what might start with a flight option, how are you then recommending a hotel option or ground transportation or tours and activities, again, depending upon the segment of customer you're talking about. And the ability to do that and then service that across that ecosystem in the case of a disruption or otherwise is tremendous value. And look, I know there's a lot of commercial challenges. Any RFP that's run across any industry, there's always a drive to bring price down. But as an industry, I think we really have to recognize the value that the intermediary players provide in stitching that all together in an effective way. And so I think the agencies have an equal opportunity to provide that value to customers. I also think there's an opportunity, again, understanding their own business models of how they work with and promote, partners that they care about the most, that reward them for the type of business they conduct, whether that's a supplier or otherwise. And that ultimately can be a much richer experience for the traveler, and I think allows agencies to participate in a significant portion of that $40 billion of upside. And I think, again, it extends beyond just the airline opportunity.
So Dean and Jason, as it relates to NDC and let's say modern retailing, what are some of the challenges you're facing from an operational and technical point of view?
So at Dnata, we've been issuing NDC content since 2019. We've got a single pipe that supplies both our corporate and leisure brands. With NDC content and GDS content aggregated together in our platforms. In terms of challenges, like any the TMC, we support customers across multiple global online booking tools, and there's many of them. And each of them have their own strategy for delivering NDC content. And sometimes this is not what we've integrated ourselves, right? So we have to manage that. So investment in reporting tools enables us to collect data from various sources, in that sort of scenario. Sort of similar scenario is, low-cost airlines. They've been delivering API-based content for many years now. I mean, 15, 20 years? I don't know. It's been a long time. And, in recent times, we've seen them include more and more add-ons. And our customers have welcomed this. But, it's not without its challenges either. Post-fulfillment support for carriers outside of our region is a challenge. We see this with our global customers. And then secondly, we have customers as well who don't necessarily want that cheapest fare that's coming from that low-cost carrier API. And they prefer to have the GDS content because that gives them the ability to book now, pay later, and they can then, manage their travel program better and have that approval process in place.
I don't think of NDC content as a particular singular source and I don't really worry about integrating it in particular. We take in over 1,000 OTA content, 600 carriers via GDS and direct APIs. Not one of them is NDC. We're able to offer, a plethora of flights and the content. We're able to offer all the fares, but nothing is coming from NDC. It's not that we, are particularly saying no to it, but it is old technology. It's a technology that's 17, 18 years old. It's nothing new. I would rather do a direct API integration with the carrier than try and do a standard that's not standard. I also don't think that I should have to worry about what that particular carrier's technology is, because we're all of a sudden going from, we're travel technology specialists. An airline necessarily is not a travel technology specialist. I think they're really great at flying people from A to B and C, but when it comes to the technology, it is, the direct players, the GDSs, ourselves, and other API aggregators that are able to deliver the content, I think, in a better fashion than utilizing XML to present personalized offers which aren't really that personalized.
Thank you. Thank you. So, not necessarily off the cuff, but I'll just ask a question that I think we should talk about. This year, we've started to see some pace of change as it relates to airlines being a little bit more, let's say, aggressive around their NDC adoption. How do you see that playing out? Do we think that we're going to see more of that? Do we think that we're going to see less of that? I remind myself constantly when I'm talking to some of our agency customers about the paper tickets and how long it took to move from paper tickets to e-tickets. That was an 11-year excursion. So maybe we could just dwell a little bit on that. What do we think about the pace of change and what it will look like?
Yeah, I'm going to start by maybe building or responding to Dean on because I don't fundamentally disagree with him. XML's been around forever, right? But I do think, it allows and unlocks some new opportunity, and there's a promise of what that technology can unlock. That promise has largely been unfulfilled to date, right? And I think that's the point that you're making, Dean. That said, it is gaining, and it's coming in at an accelerated pace, largely with the biggest airlines in the world, who have the technology capacity to even think about investing in it, right? Because they're investing first within their IT solutions to enable NDC, and then separately through the distribution landscape. The pace is accelerating in terms of the number of carriers that are looking to launch. We've got an aggressive roadmap this year with carriers in this region going live later this year with Emirates, Qatar, and so that's really positive. Again, to what end and what will they be putting through this new technology is still a bit of a question mark. Then I would say the other thing that we're watching and that we talk with our agency partners quite a lot is who are the partners that are moving forward in a collaborative way with the industry, with in the right pace, that understand consequences of new technology within their buying community and are accommodating the pace at which they move as those partners need to potentially make changes in their own tech stacks. And those partners or suppliers that are moving more aggressively and without respect to those downline systems that may need to evolve. And so I think we're going to there's not going to be one approach. And many of my agency partners that I talk to then are using this moment in time to think about who are the right partners for them moving forward, who do they want to do business with, and cherishing those relationships. So, I think this is going to be an interesting time as we see that evolve. And look, we're playing a role in how we advance and try to meet our agency customers' needs and deliver at pace and at scale for our our customers' behalves. But it's bigger than us, right? There's other partners that are relied on, whether those are mid-back office, OBTs, other connectivity partners in an OTA landscape. To me, it's about the collaboration. We need to figure out, we see the promise, how do we work together as an industry to do that at pace with one another?
And maybe Dean, we'll just unpack some of what Andy's talking about, right? I think it'd be interesting to maybe dwell on how can airlines drive meaningful content beyond price, right? And what we're seeing in this first iteration is a lot of just price-driven content being pushed into NDC. But what are some more meaningful types of content that you envision coming in the future?
So I mean, we have a lot of content coming in already. It doesn't have to be via, NDC, but they can deliver a lot via direct APIs. I mean, look at an LCC and how they've unbundled and then rebundling everything together again. And I think really that's what the full service carrier is trying to do, to emulate what is happening with the LCC today. Unbundling, rebundling, and doing it in a smart fashion, yeah? Not every route that they serve up is going to be the same, and consumers will want something different on that route. I think what they're trying to do with NDC is they're trying to put everything into the same funnel, putting it, and then serving that up, which is not so intelligent, yeah? And we're just creating, NDC aggregators. What is it? It's just another name for types of GDS. Yeah, so we're just creating more people in the chain that is just going to take away or add to the cost of distribution. I don't think it's actually reducing the cost of distribution. It's actually increasing it, and it's also pushing that technology away from people who are experts in that technology field into areas which they're not so familiar with. I think it's to do a more collaborative approach with, OTAs, the travel industry, and how we can work together with the data we have and the personalization that we offer, which is shopping across networks, across systems, across platforms, and being able to deliver their content in a more meaningful fashion.
So there's a lot of hype now about AI solutions. This is a question for both Dean and Jason, and then I'd ask you to maybe chime in afterwards. Do you see opportunities for AI and machine learning in any of your future investments? And is there anything you're currently doing in terms of your current deployments? And if so, can you expand on both of them?
AI and machine learning can certainly complement the data that we have in customer profiles. And going forward, this is an investment area, synchronizing NDC content with those traveler profiles. We have a certain level of AI and machine learning in place today in our online tools, that make recommendations based on what other travelers in the company are doing, in terms of certain destinations, hotels they're staying at. It learns, going forward. We at Dnata have also invested in analytics data to predict future trends, risks, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, like for us, machine learning and AI is really at the forefront of every department. We're encouraging every single person in our company to be actively involving in things like the ChatGPT. We're working on plugins as well for our customer service. We're looking at how we can utilize these AI tools in every aspect of what we do. So there is a usage, particularly at the moment, we're doing a lot for our customer service, how we can actually talk to our customers in multiple languages as well, and being able to give very good responses, in their own local language. It's actually really amazing what we've been able to do with it. As far as content delivery as well, our blogs, and our content team are able to produce 10 times the amount of volume that we're able to produce prior to the use of AI. So you're actually going to be seeing, we've actually have a team now of AI engineers that is literally looking across our company and figuring out how we can accelerate the growth of everything that we do via AI and machine learning. But we're already seeing massive results and return from it. And, we're wanting to embrace that and do a lot more with it.
Yeah, I would just add on, we've deployed some of those very same use cases, notably within our service desk and how we support our agency customers through some of those same natural language processing engines and ability to serve customers in a multitude of languages. The other thing, if you rewind the clock to early 2020, that's when we announced our partnership with Google. And there were three components of that. The first was we were moving into Google Cloud and taking all of our compute into that platform. And that was important, but let's be honest, that's just an infrastructure play. The second one was getting access to some of Google's unique data and analytics capabilities and starting to infuse those within our products. And so last year we launched within our airline IT business an offering that we call Air Price IQ and then Ancillary IQ. And this is helping airlines, adequately and effectively price their fares in a way that has the greatest propensity to buy for the traveler. How they helps them to optimize their revenue. So taking what used to be other offerings that we had that were rules-based, dynamic rules-based, but nonetheless, were somewhat fixed in nature. So this kind of generative AI and using that to now take those dynamic rules-based things to a natural learning model is a really important step forward. Our hospitality team is doing something similar. In the hospitality IT business, a new offering that we're just launching called Retail Studio. And again, using some of those same algorithms, how do we market to a guest, not just the amenities or services and goods on property, but also start to create a marketplace of content for a local chocolatier down the street or a spa service that might exist outside the hotel. And again, using and understanding traveler context, how do we curate the right offer? And the last piece is taking those same technologies. We're just at the cusp of delivering this to some of our agency products, where today we have agency retailer and a number of other solutions that help agencies grow revenue or drives efficiency in their handling time. Using those same technologies, again, given the context and the data that they sit on, how can we help them advance and retail to their customers, understanding that propensity to buy and kind of customer choice models that we see evolving.
Great. Last question for you, Andy. How do you think the industry can use technology to achieve sustainability?
That's a great question. Look, I'll maybe allow my counterparts to talk about how they're doing it within their own businesses. From our standpoint, sitting in a marketplace business, the first thing is we want to allow choice. Whether you're a program that's just looking for information on carbon emissions, or whether you're looking to drive offset programs or sustainable aviation fuel. How do we, and there's a multitude of providers across all three of those. So one is, how do we just enable choice that provides information through APIs at point of sale, and that allows you the choice of which providers and which information sets you want to rely on. And so that's the place primarily that we can play. We've just established a new relationship with Google and consuming some of their carbon emission data. But in my mind, that's just one provider. And being an ecosystem player, we need to listen to our customers and create an open network that allows them to plug in multiple providers providing those sustainability initiatives.
At Dnata, we have an entire strategic pillar dedicated to sustainability. We are totally committed. From our customers, sustainability is a hot topic. They are selecting suppliers based on their sustainability programs and their efforts to reduce their CO2 footprint. Our technology is set up to display CO2 emissions. We've most recently just included the latest IATA calculations in that as well, so it's a lot more meaningful now. We display green hotel properties in the technology as well. And this enables customers to drive their policy based on sustainability and the flight selections and so on. We're also working with suppliers on the use of sustainable aviation fuel. And I mean, as you said too, this is the clearest decarbonization path for aviation going forward. And I think there'll be a lot of investment in this space from us and our partners.
Thanks, everybody. It was a great discussion. Thank you for your time today. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.